Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Bible Talk from the Green Room. I hope everybody had a good week. I had a busy week, but a very blessed week. Got to see some folks down in Elizabethtown at a blueberry meeting, and then I got to spend the day in Raleigh yesterday and meet some new friends and learn a little bit about agriculture in North Carolina that I didn't know and get some different perspectives from folks. And it's always good to kind of get out of the norm and do things like that. Today in Journey Through the Bible, Journey of a Lifetime, we're going to be in lesson number 8. We're talking about two different books here. We're going to talk about the book of Judges and we're going to talk about the book of Ruth. The book of Judges kind of continues the story of the Israelites after the death of Joshua there, and it picks up the story after the death of Moses. The book is filled with defeat and disgrace. A key verse is found in two places. If you look in 17:6 and 21:25, it says, "In these days there was no king in Israel, but every man did that which was right in his own eyes." The book's been called the Dark Ages book of the Hebrew people because it shows a repetitive cycle there of deserting God for heathen gods. But then it shows during the time God allowed them to suffer at the hands of the Canaanites. And when they would turn to God, He would send them a deliverer just over and over and over again. And how does that relate to us now with Jesus? We have sinned and continue to sin, but yet He sent Jesus for us to pay that price once and for all. Judges, it covers a span of about 250 years, the period from the death of Joshua to the coming of Saul to the throne. It's broken up into three sections there: the apostasy, chapter 1, and the first part of chapter 2, the period of Judges, chapters 2 through 16, and then the appendices, chapter 17 to 21. Much of the promised land had not been conquered at the death of Joshua. The first act the Israelites was to seek uh, God's will and how they should begin the final conquest. God appointed Judah at this time, a kingly tribe, to attack first. That work began well, but it ended with failure here. It gives a few references in the study guide here. It says the Israelites did not drive out the enemies as God commanded. Instead, what did they do was the question here. It said they let them remain and pay tribute or to be forced laborers. And then in chapter 2, 3, the angel of the Lord said, as a result of their sin, that they would be thorns to the Israelites and their gods a snare. And that was in quotations there. The children of Israel brought on their own judgment and became their own executioners. Several times Israel was on the verge of being exterminated, but again, God showed His love and He jumped in and He intervened. When we look at the period of Judges here, there's quite a few there. After the death of Joshua, the elders of this generation died one by one until the entire generation was gone. Then came a new generation that had not seen the things God had done for Israel. And I'm going to show you a chart here that talks about six different judges here that are in this study guide there. There's six different judges. Maybe you can screenshot that and read it, but some informative stuff that refers you to where to go to read a little more on those judges of Israel there. God repeatedly delivered His people from their enemies, even though it was never really appreciated. And how many times has that happened with us now as well? God continues to pour His love on us, and we continue to fall to sin. That is the power of sin. But we can give our lives to Christ, and Christ can cover that sin. And over time, as we become closer to Christ, we become stronger at pushing away sin. There's some things when you become saved that instantly go out of your life and you never want to touch again. And then there's some of those sins that continue to battle you over and over and over and plague you over and over and over. And you constantly have to go to God and ask for forgiveness of those things. But don't just do that. Ask for help. Ask for strength. I pray for forgiveness every day, and then I pray for strength to fight off those things that I'm so tempted to do that I know I shouldn't do. When we get to chapter 17 to 21, those sections differ from the rest of the book. The attention is now focused on two incidents that illustrate sin and immorality of Israel rather than on Israel's great heroes. The first of those two is an account of the Philistines pressuring the Danites from the south to the northern part of Israel. They set up an image that was strictly forbidden by the law of Moses. The second incident tells of mishandling of the Levite, which resulted in a war with the tribe of Benjamin and near extinction of that tribe. When we get to the book of Ruth there, it is totally different there. It takes place during the days of Judges, but is a very different book. Instead of violence and immorality, we read about tenderness and love. It's the story of a godly family from the famous town of Bethlehem, Judah. The family traveled to the land of Moab because of the famine in their land. And there were two sons of Naomi and her husband, and they married Moabite girls and who had become worshipers of God. But what happened to cause Naomi and her daughter-in-laws to return to Bethlehem is her husband and both of the sons ended up dying. On the way to Judah, Naomi says she became concerned for the welfare of her daughters-in-law, Orpah and Ruth, and asked them to return to their home in Moab. It says Orpah sorrowfully returned, but Ruth refused to leave Naomi in her lonely old age. The words Ruth spoke to Naomi are often used in wedding ceremonies, and I'm going to read those for you. Ruth said, "Entreat me not to leave thee, or to return from following after thee. For whither thou goest, I will go, and where thou lodgest, I will lodge. Thy people shall be my people, and thy God my God. Where thou diest, will I die, and there will I be buried. The Lord do so to me, and more also, if aught but death part thee and me." When they returned to Bethlehem, Naomi and Ruth, they were very, very poor during this time. The law of Moses in Leviticus, if we see 19 verses 9 and 10, it required the gleanings of the harvest be left for the poor. And that's something that we see now. And while she was gleaning the field, Ruth met Boaz, who won her heart, and they were married, as you'll see in chapter 2, 1 through 4:13. But talking about gleaning, that is a mission that's done often now. You'll see it with produce and things like sweet potatoes, zucchini, squash, those type things. You'll see some growers allow people, mission groups, to go in and glean fields, and they'll glean them and pack maybe some of these undesirable vegetables there, and they'll pack them up and they'll go give them to folks in need, which is a biblical principle that's been done many times over the years. And I love seeing that when it takes place now, whether it's a group of young boys out. I know of one football team who does that, and they go glean fields and then deliver sweet potatoes to people they know that are in need. It's always good to share like that, and it teaches some great principles to the youth and adults that help in that. That's just a good practice to do. Study up on the chart here. I'll put it up one more time, and you can learn about those 6 judges that are in the book there. Thank you for tuning in today. Be sure and like, share, subscribe to the YouTube channel here, and tell your friends about it. We're posting all the content there now instead of trying to put it here, put it there, put it yonder, and link it all together. It's easier to do this. It's in one place, easier to manage, and hopefully I can get more messages out, more timely, and you'll be able to find them there. But make sure you take time this weekend to focus on mental health. Kick back, relax, clear your head out, check in with your family. Make sure everything's okay with them. Nothing wrong with asking everybody if everything's going okay. Y'all have a good weekend. Love you all. Talk to you next time.